How is life?
Oh, right. Cut. Life is cut.
You're back. Yeah, it's hard. Life is hard. Yes, this heat can make you feel like a zombie.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so basically we were looking at the dignity of a human being, body and soul, as a composite, unity. That there is no dichotomy between body and soul, but it is a composite unit. That a human being is whole, entire and integral, body and soul. And we said that the body basically shares in the dignity of the soul. The soul is a spiritual principle created by God. And the soul animates the body. And because it's a human soul animating a human body, our bodies are precisely human. So they are different from the body of a dead lion, okay, or a dead dog. So it's not that it is a human body, precisely because it is animated by the human soul. So a human body has dignity in the body. It is not simply matter to throw away to waste, to do whatever with it, whatever we want. No, it is dignified because it participates in the dignity of the soul. And so, of course, again, we talked about that's the fundamental dignity of a human being. We share in the life of God. God is pure spirit, and we share in his life. That's why a human being is more important than everything else. And of course, one saint put it this way, that a soul, a human soul, filled with sanctifying grace. And it's very difficult, for us sometimes to comprehend this, but it is true, and we have to really ponder it to try our best to enter into it. That a human soul filled with sanctifying grace, that a human being in that state of grace is far more precious than all material things in the world combined. Gold, silver, money, you talk about it. Okay? A human soul filled with grace is more precious because it has something that is eternal. Okay? Something it cannot lose. I think someone said that it is foolish to be afraid of losing something I'm going to lose anyway. Okay? So there are so many things we are going to lose anyway, but we are so much afraid. They said we shouldn't be afraid of losing something which we can really retain forever. Our eternal salvation. So that is the dignity of our lives, that's the dignity of the human soul, the human being. That's why today, Mary was telling me a story in Brazil. There was, a madman. He was crazy, so he wanted to commit suicide. So he jumped into the lion's den, basically jumped into a part of the lions. And so the lions started basically mauling him. They were trying to kill him, so they shot the lions. But on the internet, people were more concerned about the dead lions than the man who was saved. But that's where we are today. Like this so-called whatever that was killed in Ohio. Like gorilla. Do you see what people say on the internet? So when you see a story like that, don't even read the story. Read the headline and go to the comments. It's very interesting. But it shows you basically what many people say. It shows you how we look at life today. As we said before, when we lose sight of God, a human being no longer understands who she is. And hence we can't understand who the other is, and we don't really understand the value of a human being. So animals, things like that, whatever it is, become more important. So, but it shouldn't be among us. So 368, the spiritual tradition of the church also emphasizes the heart in the biblical sense of the depth in the biblical sense of the depth of one's being, where the person decides for or against God. Okay, so basically, when we talk about the human heart, biblically, we don't refer to simply a body part, the heart. It simply symbolizes the principle, the source from which a person proceeds. Okay? The center of human consciousness. Like for the Greeks, it would be the mind. Okay? For the Jews, it is the heart. So everything we do proceeds from the heart. So the heart is the center of our consciousness, the principle from which a person proceeds. So Jesus says it's not what comes from without, but what comes from within, because it reveals the essence of who a person is, our inner core. So that inner core from which we proceed our actions, our words, our conduct, our behavior is called the heart. Okay, not simply a body part. That's why we said when we look at Jesus and his love, we don't say that we're going to adore the sacred brain of Jesus. We adore the sacred heart. Because that's the center of consciousness. That's where Christ proceeds. Okay. So this the principle of who he is. So that's what we mean by a heart, okay, biblically. So male and female, he created them. Okay. Number 3, equality and a difference willed by God. Male and female, he created them. So I think, you see, what sometimes is so disturbing is that today the most obvious things are no longer obvious. Okay? The most obvious things are no longer obvious, like male and female. You don't have to have 1/10 of a brain to see that that's no issue. But the question is, why has it become a major issue in our day and age? It is very scary. But unfortunately, there is a complacency about it, even among Christians, that it is as if it is something normal. The confusion of the sexes by inventing words like a gender. Okay. It's that gender is an invented word which has nothing to do with the essence of who a human being is. Okay. So, equality and a difference willed by God. So man and woman have been created, which is to say, willed by God. That's what we mean by creating. Willed by God, on the one hand, in perfect equality as human persons. So male and female are equal. Equal does not mean uniform. Okay? That's not what it means. So it doesn't mean that if people are equal, therefore they have to be the same thing. No. Okay? But that is, they are equal. Why? Why are they equal?
Body itself.
They're equal because
Their dignity as people.
they are made in the image of God. Each one of them is made in the image of God. Okay? So that is a very important thing. We're going to look at that later. Okay? So they are perfect equality, in perfect equality as human beings. A man is no greater than woman, woman is no greater than man. So today with so-called the battle of the sexes, which is a consequence of original sin, so men have been oppressing women in many areas, in many cultures for a long time. You can't deny that, okay? Some men are so oppressive to the degree that men, they are sick, okay? That oppressive whatever. Like what is happening in countries like Saudi Arabia, which is a strong US ally. Believe me, if Saudi Arabia didn't have oil, they would be on the red list of the US. But how often does the US talk about human rights in Saudi Arabia? That's why other countries are angry with the US, because there is no principle upon which basically these relations are based. A country like Saudi Arabia is the worst, basically, performing country in terms of human rights. But how often do we call them on that? Because we may disrupt the oil flow. Okay? Halliburton may not make money. Okay? But these other countries which don't basically count, okay, they are always punished because of violation of human rights. You know? But in a country like Saudi Arabia, a woman can't drive. A woman can't go anywhere without being accompanied by a man. It is crazy. It's sheer madness, but it's happening. And nobody is calling them out on it because they have money. But that is wrong, you know. Humans are equal because they are made in the image of God. Okay? So we have also to be mindful of that. So today what's happening is that in some cultures where there is the emancipation of women, okay, because they've been oppressed for a long time, we use the word equality, but really we are not looking for equality. Now women want to take over and become the oppressors. Okay? They use the word equality, but that's not really true. So that's the essence of militant feminism. Okay? To acknowledge the value of the feminine is something of value. But when you go into feminism whereby someone wants to take over, now it's our turn, then it goes wrong. Okay? Dominating one another is not the plan of God. That's not what God intended. So we are equal in God's eyes, and that equality is willed by Him, as we're going to see, and we must always uphold that. Okay? So, in perfect equality as human persons, on the other hand, why do they use the word person? Remember what was said before, okay? That a human being is never an object. Human being is a subject. Meaning that a human being is an entity willed by God, the only creature willed for itself, so it's not used by any other. Okay? So we are not to be used in any way as an object, because we are subjects of love. So on the other hand, in their respective beings as man and woman. So they are equal as human persons, and in their respective being as man and woman. Being man or being woman is a reality which is good and willed by God. It's never bad to be a man, it's never bad to be a woman. Again, you know, the danger today is, again, we don't know the mean anymore. Okay? Basically what we call moderation. So because men have oppressed women, as we said, it's an undeniable fact. Okay? They have oppressed women for a long time. Now the emancipation of women means that men have to become like women. Okay? You know, girly men. Okay? No. That doesn't mean that a man has to become a woman. That's why, you know, from childhood, a man has to be taught how to be a man. A woman has to be taught how to be a woman. To be a woman doesn't mean to cook or to do whatever. No, that's not what it means. To be a man doesn't mean to lord it over others. To be arrogant. No, that's not what it means. But we have to acknowledge that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Okay? And there are differences which are very important. They are complementary. So men shouldn't become like women, or women shouldn't become like men. Okay? Militant feminism wants to make women like men. You have to walk like a man, you have to talk like a man to show that you're powerful. No, you don't have to do that. Or a woman has to show, rather, man has to show that he feels for women by, no. It's a very disturbing phenomenon, but it is happening. So, being man or being woman is a reality which is good, and it is willed by God. So it's not bad. So man and woman possess an inalienable dignity which comes to them immediately from God, their creator, meaning that the dignity each one of us has cannot be taken away by any other, because it's not given to us by any human being. It's not the country that gives us that dignity. It's not the president. It's not the pope. It's not whoever. It is God. So all these structures we have are simply there to uphold that dignity, not to trample over it, to trample upon it. Okay. So that dignity is given to us by God. In the U.S., what document says all men are created equal? The Declaration of
Independence.
all men are.
Created equal. And they explained it by men, they mean men and women.
Yeah, men, basically, men is a general term usually, yeah. That's what they mean, all men, men and women, okay, are created equal. Okay, but is that true? Yes, it is true, but do we live it? Okay, can you imagine in a nation where the Declaration of Independence says all men are created? And that word is very specific, okay, and deliberate, created. It doesn't say they are born equal. It says they are created equal, which means that that declaration acknowledges that there is a creator and there is a moment of creation. Okay? But it is the same nation which says that abortion is legal. So are all men created equal according to the Constitution? The Constitution is saying otherwise. The Declaration is saying otherwise. So how did we get to that?
Well, Father, wasn't it that at the time that they wrote the Declaration, they did believe that. Everybody believed that they were created equal. But as we went into progress, then we started changing.
Yeah, so we're talking about the contradictions, okay, among us when we talk about equality, okay? And yet it's equality about the things we want. But about the things we don't want, then equality doesn't apply. Okay, so these are human contradictions which basically are consequences of original sin. But we as believers have really to ponder these things, okay, and know that we don't have to change with the changing times. We have to hold or uphold the principle of truth. Okay, that's why we always say that for a Catholic to say that they believe in abortion is something very tragic. It's one thing for one to commit a sin. You remember that those sins can be under different circumstances, okay? That's why responsibility sometimes is mitigated, as we have said before. We've talked about this, like somebody can maybe in a very stressful situation. We always say, like the example of a 13-year-old who has a very, despotic, very cruel father. Okay? She messes up and she gets pregnant. The father is going to kill her in her thinking if he gets to know about this. Friends tell her you can take care of it. And she does. It's evil, it's a sin, but her responsibility is modified by the circumstances. Age, knowledge, level of knowledge, and fear. But that doesn't take away the fact that what she did was sinful, but it is mitigated by circumstances like that. So there are many mitigating factors, okay, which can take place, and that's why there is reason to instruct. Okay, so that people may acquire the necessary knowledge. Yes.
Father, do you remember what Hillary Clinton said recently about why? Because she believes in God, she knows there is a God, she's a believer, but we have to support abortion because she said she used the Constitution. She said, according to our constitution, that a fetus doesn't have rights. So it's okay to do abortion.
According to the Constitution.
Up to 9 months.
That's why it's very important for us believers always to go back to what we believe. Okay? Nothing can be set over and above our faith for a very simple reason. That the great gift of our faith is something that will make us live forever with God. Okay? If we hold on to it. Everything else is temporary. Everything else, whether country, whether this human life we are living here, earthly life, natural life, everything is temporary. That's why it's very important always to stick to the biblical principles. Example, we give 2 examples. Moses. When God gave him the mission to take the people out of Egypt, okay, what did he meet with? Resistance from the rulers of this world, okay? Pharaoh. Okay, so Pharaoh told him, "We are not going." Moses says, "We are going because God said so." Okay, Pharaoh said, "Okay, you go, but leave this behind." Moses says, "No, we are not leaving anything behind." Pharaoh says, "You were." Moses says, "No." Why? Because God said. Okay? And then Moses makes a very important statement, okay? That you are telling us to leave something behind. Okay? Picture this as a Christian principle, that way we can mutilate part of truth but remain true. Okay? So Moses said to Pharaoh that God told us to go to the desert to do what? To worship him. Okay? That element, worship, that's why we're here. We're going to see later on why we're here, to worship God. Okay? So, and Moses says, we don't know with which we will worship him. What if we go to the desert, okay, and it tells us, okay, these are the elements of worship, and then we had left it in Egypt? In other words, should I obey Pharaoh or should I obey God? The constitution is Pharaoh, okay? Should I obey Pharaoh or should I obey God? Then later on, we have Peter standing before the Sanhedrin, okay, the governing body of Israel. And they tell him, "We told you to stop talking about that name. You make us murderers, we killed him, whatever. Stop talking about it." Moses says, Peter says, "Well, you tell me, should I obey you or God?" So if you claim to be a Christian, a believer, and you know the word, you claim to know the word of God, okay, and the constitution or whatever it is says otherwise, whatever is not God says otherwise, what should you obey? The constitution or God? Okay. So are you a believer if you obey the constitution and not God? So it's very simple. So people can say, "Well, I believe in God and whatever," but it's as James says, okay, it is our works, not our words, that show our faith. Okay. So if you really say that I believe in God, okay, but you know but the constitution is more important than the divine constitution. The human constitution is more important than the divine constitution. Then you don't believe in God. You're serving your God, the constitution.
I just remember the sarcastic thing about her when she was asked about the list of her favorite books. The number 1 was the Bible.
Wow.
Because when she's in crisis, she goes to the Bible.
When I'm in crisis, I go to the Bible.
Jehovah Witness.
Maybe one has to ask which one. But remember, okay, that what we are really saying can affect many of us if we are not very careful. We can easily be swept away by the things around us, and basically our faith becomes secondary. Our ideologies are primary. Okay, faith is secondary. Look at the way we are talking about abortion. Okay? We can talk about all social ills of today, homosexuality, we can talk about social ills of today, immigration, all those things. Okay? If we are not very careful, our passion for some of these things may end up becoming more important than our belief in God. Because some of these things, every human ideology can go wrong, and indeed they go wrong. Truth never goes wrong. Okay? That's why we said before, we should never identify our faith with any human ideology. Now, some ideologies are good and they can serve the faith better. Other ideologies are evil. But regardless of whether a human ideology, philosophy is good or bad, it must never be identified with the faith. Because every human ideology goes wrong. Faith never goes wrong. So if my faith is my ideology, when the ideology goes wrong, seemingly my faith has gone wrong. So we have to be aware of that. Okay, so the dignity. Man and woman are both with one and the same dignity in the image of God. In their being man and being woman, they reflect the Creator's wisdom and goodness. So being female is the Creator's wisdom and goodness. So if one doesn't want to be a woman, what are they doing? It's an insult to God's wisdom and goodness. If one doesn't want to be a man, it's an insult to God's goodness and wisdom. Now, some people are simply, basically, mentally unstable, so they don't know what they are doing. Okay, we have to take that into account. But if someone is mentally unstable, we shouldn't basically promote their instability, mental instability, as something normal. That's what we are trying to do today. People are confused, and we are telling them, no, you are not confused. Your confusion is the right way to go. It's not confusion. Okay? That's the mistake we make. It's not that those people are necessarily bad. Many of them are just simply sick. But it's now society telling them that you are not sick. That's the normal way to go. You are not confused. Okay? As we said before, right now I can put on a dress and I claim to be a woman, and I say I have a right to go to women's bathroom, and whoever it is, maybe the president will write an advisory that I should be allowed to do that. I'm confused that someone is telling me that no, you are not. Okay? So that's the problem. Okay? It's not that the confused people, but they're just sick people. They are confused. They are sick people. But we have to acknowledge their sickness. Okay? And not say, well, no, you are fine. You're okay. So we must basically love who we are. God's wisdom and goodness. Okay? We talked about that last week, I think, the essence of true love of self. We said the essence of true love of self is different from selfishness. Selfishness is lack of true love of self. But a true love of self, its essence is a recognition that I have been loved. Okay? Why? Because I am good and lovable. Why? Because God made me so. This is what we are looking at here. Okay? Reflecting the Creator's wisdom and goodness. That's who a human being is. A reflection of divine wisdom and goodness. So if we hate ourselves, it's like we are hating God's wisdom and goodness. And no human being has a right to define another. Okay? Human beings don't define us. That's why you notice like many people, but especially many young girls, but men are catching up too. Okay? They don't love themselves. Why? Because they don't fit the definition of beauty according to Hollywood or Bollywood, whatever it is. Okay? Okay? They don't fit that category. So they are ugly, they are bad, they feel bad about themselves. But who said that Hollywood is to define beauty, aesthetics, wisdom, goodness? Who are they? Most of them are and yet we look up to them to define us. You see how how we can basically plunge ourselves into misery, that Hollywood is going to define me. Please. Okay? It's God who defines us. So if I want to know who I am, where do I go? I go to my God. My Creator knows me and He tells me who truly I am. Okay? Who I am truly. Not some other people, not whatever. And that's why if we don't really take that principle at heart, we subject ourselves to a lot of abuse and misery. Okay? If other people are going to define me, what are other people going to say about me? Probably not many good things. As you know, we talk about human beings even before they are born. Someone sees a pregnant woman and they start talking about the child in the womb before they're even born. Oh, she's pregnant. Oh, well, I don't know about that child, you know. They are not yet born, okay? But we are talking about them, okay? So that's the nature of humans, whatever. So humans can't define us because they don't create us. God defines us. So that's why these things are very important for our spiritual, mental, psychological health. Okay? The man and woman, being a man, being a woman is a reflection of the Creator's wisdom and goodness.
Father,
So the first thing we must love in life is the gift of self. Because by loving the gift of self, then we are able to appreciate and love the gift of the other. But I can't love the gift of self if I don't acknowledge the giver of the gift. That's why true love of self is inseparable from love and knowledge of God, and love of neighbor is inseparable from true love of self. Because I can't love if I don't love. Okay? I can't love you if I don't love myself.
some time ago, it was being explained to us, the class, about suicide. It said, a person that commits suicide is not in the right senses.
We don't know whether they're in the right senses or not, but the church acknowledges that there are psychological and social pressures that can lead people to commit suicide, because under normal circumstances, really, a person wouldn't want to do that, but a person can really choose to do that, okay? Just as people can choose to do evil. But the church, what the church says is this, okay? That because we don't know the psychological state of the person who committed suicide, therefore we have the obligation to commend them to God's mercy. And therefore the church prays for people who have committed suicide. Okay? Before, people would just say, well, they committed suicide, we can't pray for them. In some cultures, what they do about suicide is just so gross. Okay? You understand the psychology of it. They want to discourage people from doing it. But sometimes the punishment for the dead is so grave. Like in my tribe, okay, the Baganda tribe, if you commit suicide, like on a tree, okay, a branch of a tree. Before, okay, today probably it's changing a little bit, but they would gather the whole village to come and see. Then they would whip the body. Okay, kids would gather and everybody, they whip the body, okay, and then they dig a pit underneath the body, they cut the rope, and the body, boom, dumps in the hole, and then that's the burial for someone who commits suicide. Okay. To discourage anybody from doing it. Or if it's not like they just found you committed suicide somewhere there, they take you to the forest, way deep. That's where you're buried. You don't have a place among, basically the dead. Even among the dead, you don't have a place. To discourage people from doing it.
Well, over here in Mexico.
And
Mexico,
believe me, sometimes it works.
In Mexico, they don't allow a suicide to be buried in the cemetery. they were buried outside.
But now, understanding, the psychological state of certain things and the pressures and whatever, we understand probably better than the people before. Okay, so we handle it differently today.
Oh, now they can be?
We pray the church, we have even funeral masses for people who commit suicide. Because who needs God's mercy more than this person right here? Okay? Who for some whatever reason took their life. Okay? So for us, we do what we're supposed to do. Pray, and God does what He does. We fulfill our responsibility to pray for all sinners. Okay? Now it's up to God to make the decision. We do what we are supposed to do. Okay? So, the importance of that, please keep that in mind, our dignity, that being who we are, male and female, is a reflection of God's wisdom and goodness. And therefore, we must appreciate the gift of who we are. As you know, the gift of human sexuality is different from what we call sex. Okay? Sex is an act. Human sexuality is a gift. So being a male is a gift. Being a female is a gift. And nobody should make us feel bad about it. Okay? So 3:17. In no way is God in man's image. Okay? Atheists, okay, beginning with the so-called, some of the European philosophers, okay? Basically, like Nietzsche and all those, whatever. So they said because we are so naive believers, we are very naive, so what we couldn't do, we projected onto an invisible being that he possesses the qualities we want to have, but we don't have. But now that we are enlightened by science and philosophy, so those qualities are truly ours. Okay? So in other words, today, man is not made in the image of God. God is made in the image of man.
Oh.
Okay? And because man can do what God does, which we didn't know before, okay? Now man is God. Because there is no God. Because God was made in the image of man, by man.
People believe that?
Okay? So that is the essence of atheism. Okay? So, in no way is God in man's image. He is neither man nor woman. God is pure spirit, in which there is no place for the difference between the sexes. So in God there is no battle for sexes, the battle of the sexes. But the respective perfections of man and woman reflect something of the infinite perfection of God, those of a mother and those of a father and husband. Okay? So mother has never been a title of God in the biblical sense, but it is basically God is referred to as the image, okay, of mother has been used to express God, His tenderness, okay, like a mother, gathers her children. So God, in the perfections God has given to us, these limited perfections, they are reflections of His infinite perfection. So being a woman reflects something of God. Being a man reflects something of God. That's why you see, biblically from the very beginning, God is presented as a husband, and Israel is the wife. The book of Hosea brings that out very, very, very good. And also we see in the New Testament, in the letters of Paul, he talks about Christ the bridegroom and the church the bride. So those images are fundamental. So, but God cannot be confined by our, basically, understanding of these images, that God is a man, God is a woman, God is a man, God is a woman. No. But when Christ came, He revealed to us God as Father. And when Christ was born into the world, He was born as a male. Okay? So those are realities of revelation we can't deny. Okay? The Son of God became man. And he wasn't that Jesus didn't have a particular sex. He was a male. That's why we call Him bridegroom. and bride, the church. Okay, each for the other, a unity in two, not one for the other, each for the other. So God created man and woman together and willed each for the other. We are for one another, so we shouldn't fight one another. The Word of God gives us to understand this through various features of the sacred text. It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Say, woman is a man's helper.
No.
Yes, scripture says that.
Yeah,
You're denying it?
we know that.
Let's go to Genesis. Chapter 2.
We know that.
Okay? Who is denying it?
The back people.
The what?
The back people.
The bad people? Okay. So, Genesis chapter 2, the second account of creation. Let's begin with let's begin with verse 15. Chapter 2, Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2. 15. The Lord God then took the man and settled him in the Garden of Eden. Remember, he fashioned him out of the clay, okay? Breathed into him the breath of life and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it. So the Lord God gave man this order: you are free to eat from any of the trees of the garden except the tree of knowledge of good and bad. From that tree you shall not eat. The moment you eat from it, you are doomed to die. The Lord God said, it's not good for the man to be alone. Why was man alone? Why was man alone? There were other creatures. Dogs were there.
But no,
Cats were there.
no, not physical.
Man had pets. They were all for him, you know. But he was alone. Why? So let's listen, okay? So the Lord God said, it's not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a suitable partner for him. So the Lord God formed out of the ground various wild animals and various birds of the air, not that, okay? And he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called each of them would be its name. The man gave names to all the cattle, all the birds of the air, and all the wild animals, but none proved it to be the suitable partner for them. So God brought everything: alligator, man called it alligator, lizard, whatever game man wanted, but there was no suitable partner for him. Why? Tim, you were saying something?
No, I'm thinking.
Why? Why do you think it was no suitable partner for him?
He needed somebody who would have the same nature.
Because
Remember what we said about
he was
before?
the only one with the
There's
soul.
creation, and we must love God's creation. Why? Because it is good. But then there's what we call affective love, which only pertains to intelligent beings, okay? A human made in the image and likeness of God. So there was no such a thing. Creatures can't reciprocate that love, affective love. That's why affective love pertains only to humans, not other creatures. Okay? So again, today, as we talked about it in the beginning, that some of us have affective love for animals and sometimes no love for people. That's an inversion of values. Sometimes you have affection toward things which can't reciprocate that love. Oh, I love my thing. But doesn't even know that you love it. But another human being can know that they are being loved and they can reciprocate that love. So that's what we are talking about here. Meaning that no creature should be exalted, no material creature should be exalted over and above a human being. That's what Scripture is telling us here. So if I exalt a creature above another human being, above a human being, it means that my love has gone wrong. Okay, so that's how we know that either our love is right or wrong. Okay, so before we go into this deeper to see the reality of this, I think we talked about this at Mass in the morning. A man called in, I think it was last week, you know. So, do you listen to Mother Miriam?
Yes.
Catholic radio? Okay? Please, if you don't listen to it, okay? Immaculate Heart Radio, they have very many good programs. So there's a lady called Mother Miriam, a nun, a religious sister. So a man called in, and the man was sincere. He was upset, probably he loved his, I think it was a cat, okay? The cat died. And the man was sincere. Mother Miriam, okay, about animals. If we die, shall we see our animals in heaven? Okay, what should be the right question? Okay, for me, if you ask me, will my animal go to heaven? The question will be, will you go to heaven? What good will it be if your animal makes it and you don't make it? So we have concerns today which are just disturbing concerns. They are very disturbing. Someone to be preoccupied by the sense that will animals go to heaven, that becomes really a problem for a person. I love my animals. Okay? Will I see them in heaven? It shows that one doesn't have a concept of heaven as fulfillment for everything, and that fulfillment will be the love of God. But for the sake of argument, let's say if God destined animals to go to heaven, okay, they'll go there anyway because they can't choose otherwise. Okay? They can't make a choice. So if it is God's will that they go there, they will go there. Why should I be concerned about it? If it's God's will that they will not be there, however much I feel that they will be there, they will not going to be there. But I won't miss them if I make it to heaven. So our concern should be our salvation and the salvation of other human beings. Because we can make a choice for or against God. Animals can't. So for a believer who has some level of understanding of the faith, shouldn't be preoccupied with this idea of animals going to heaven. There's even someone who wrote a book about animals going to heaven, taking advantage of people's lack of knowledge. And people buy these books. You know, I bought a book here. I think it was a priest. Father Samson said, you know, animals will go to heaven.
Yeah. It's a priest, it's in Guardian, it's in the shrine, the book.